Thursday, October 29th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight, a show we recorded a while ago about stolen bicycles.
Let's do this.
Oh snap, it's Thursday.
No, it's not. It's Sunday.
Oh, you gotta break the illusion?
Yes, I'm always the illusion breaker. That is my job. Whenever Rim says, "Oh my God, it was so amazing," I say, "It was all right." And when Rim says, "Oh my God, I totally kicked this guy's ass," I'm like, "You pushed him over, and then he ran away." And that's how it goes in this world. Rim is the hyperbole and the lie, and Scott is always your source of truth.
Except for the fact
and
that...
boring reality, which is far more upsetting than the fantasy.
Aside from the fact that you never seem to enjoy anything, and your response to pretty much any media we consume is,
Yeah, because all the non-ehs are from the past, long ago.
Uh-huh.
If you want to talk about Star Wars, I will not go
Really?
Star Wars is like 30 years old. It's older than me. Oh, it's more like 40 years old. Good God. All right. Wow, that's really sad. Star Wars is 40 years old. It's like an old man. So, we're going to do a Thursday show.
I guess.
All right.
But the illusion's broken. I don't know if I can do it now.
Oh.
Plus, Scott, doesn't the closer very specifically say Geeknights is actually recorded at night?
Well, we would update the closer if someone wasn't so lazy.
I've been willing to do it a couple times, but...
why don't we do it right now, then?
Because we have to write the script again?
Okay.
Because I remember the last time...
Maybe we should remove that part because the sun is shining on my face.
I remember the last time when we tried to re-record it, and you were like, we don't need to rewrite a script, and then it was just,
I don't remember this.
This was many, many months ago.
I don't think this happened.
This is when we first got the nice microphones. Because remember, that was recorded with the old microphones.
No, I think we re-recorded it afterwards.
Yes, but we took a couple of recordings.
No, we did, and then we haven't tried again since. We've just kept saying we should. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. So, we're going to do news, whatever. I guess not. Thing of the day?
We said ahead of time we weren't going to do that.
All right. So, thing of the day. Well, at the beginning?
Unless you have an opening bit.
Oh, an opening bit. Shit, I'm moving.
Yeah.
Right now. Holy crap. That's
Basically,
why I don't have any show ideas.
All this means for me is that Scott has not been around. He's been moving his stuff around. And he dirtied up a bunch of my dishes and left them filthy in the kitchen rotting.
I did not use any of your dishes. I've been using exclusively paper dishes.
Scott, I will point out, here's what I found in the kitchen. One, the tray to the toaster with like week and a half old rotten Chinese food leavings on it. I cleaned that. That was not you, eh?
No.
It had one of your forks stuck in it.
No.
Your fork, I cleaned it. It's sitting there. Also, my glass baking pan, the dish that we cook chicken in. Remember when you cooked those, the chicken legs?
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, and you never washed that thing.
I did.
No, it's still got the chicken goop in it.
I remember cleaning it.
Well, you can go down to the kitchen and look.
All right.
Had things there.
I remember cleaning that. I remember specifically I cleaned all dishes. Oh, you know what? Actually, you're right. You know what I did?
What did you do?
I was being evil. You know what I did?
What did you do?
Well, when I packed all my dishes to take them away, right? I said, haha, I will clean everything that belongs to me. And if it belongs to Rim, even if I dirtied it, well, fuck it. Because I'm just leaving it here.
Great.
So, yeah, I did. I think.
That's nice. I love the fact how Scott used one of my... I had a box from UPS. I got a package from Michigan a while ago. So Scott packs a bunch of his glasses into this box and then seals it up and then just leaves it out. Like,
I left it next to all this other stuff that was packed up.
Scott, he was sitting on the table with all the mail.
I was pretty sure that I put it on the ground next to all the other boxes.
It was sitting on the table next to all the mail. So I'm going through the mail, and I see this box, and I'm like, a box for me from Michigan, from Chesterfield. What the fuck? And I'm trying to get my old band videos, so I'm thinking, did they just mail them to me? I didn't pay or anything yet. What's going on here? So I open it, and I find all these bags packed in. And I open up the bags, and I find all of Scott's teacups.
I don't drink tea even.
Why do you even have those teacups?
They came with a set of plates and bowls and things.
But why do you keep an unnecessary thing? Are you ever going to use them?
Well, people come over and use them.
But what are you don't even have any way to make tea.
I'll probably get a teapot just because I need to make hot water occasionally.
Oh, what are you going to use the hot water for?
For like, sometimes you need it for like a hot chocolate sometimes or you know, sometimes you just need to pour hot water on something. Some ants. Even though I don't think there's any ants on the 3rd floor.
I don't think pouring hot water is going to solve your ant problem.
But yeah, so I attempted to, normally you move in the one big go. You put everything you own in a truck, you drive it, and you unpack it. And it sucks, right?
Yep, I remember me and Pete had to drive that 30-foot monster truck.
Did not want to do that.
With its 3 speeds, oh my God, that was a nightmare. Driving through the mountains on 401k.
I thought I would be clever, and I've been just driving my car back and forth, with my stuff in it. And do a little bit at a time. And it's taken me about a month. And it's also sucks. I mean, it doesn't suck in terms of the hard work, because in all honesty, it's really not that hard in terms, it's like I just unpacked a bunch of stuff yesterday and was surprised at how, little more there is to do. It sucks in sort of the logistics way. It's like, okay, you sort of, even though it's difficult to put your furniture in a truck, then take it out of a truck and then put it in a building, and it sucks because the thing is, that is difficult, and you can make it less difficult by paying movers a lot of money. But
that's my plan going forward. If I weren't moving around the corner, I would have just paid large men to do everything for me.
But it is logistically simple, right? You put your stuff, you move your stuff. You can understand what to do. You just got to do it. I thought I'd be clever. I was like, aha. I'll buy all new furniture, a new mattress, new fucking everything. Almost all new everything. I get my chair down there somehow. But almost all
just
new.
Take it on the train.
Right? So
just tie it up where the bikes go.
So I'm trying to do everything all, like that. The thing is, logistics of it are far more difficult. It's like, okay, so I got to get this delivered, but I have to be there. But it's much more difficult in terms of what the hell should I do.
Got some gassy hiccups coming out there.
I just ate lunch and whatnot. So
that's not a normal reaction to eating lunch.
Regardless, I'm gonna put my clothes in the car today, and then I'm gonna come back here, go to sleep, go to work tomorrow, and then I should be all set. The only things that are left here are things which don't belong to me, things which I don't want anymore,
or things that we haven't determined what to do with yet.
Things we don't know what to do with, or things that I don't really need down in Queens.
Luckily, because we're being nice to our the landlords, the people we're living, the people who own the place we're living in now. It's a pretty big house. We've pretty much got this house until the end of the year. It's going to be empty soon.
Yeah. So we're just going to...
Man, if we have it till the end of the year, if we have it one more day, if we have the Week of Awesome party or whatever over New Year's, I don't know what we're doing over New Year's at all. I haven't planned anything.
I want to go to the Retro Arcade Museum.
Yeah, we'll do that. But, people come for a week or two around New Year's every year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have an empty house.
What are you going to do with an empty house?
Put all the Visigoths will sleep here.
An empty room?
Yeah, empty rooms.
We'll have to get some board games in this empty house. Or maybe we can play an empty house kind of game.
Maybe in December, once the house is empty, we kept saying we wanted to have a little gaming convention. We'll just have it in the house.
I think we'll get in trouble.
How would we get in trouble?
I don't know.
If we're still paying rent, it's our house. We can do whatever we want.
Should find it. I wonder if we're allowed to have a tag sale. We should have a free sale. We just put out stuff out in the lawn, be like, free. Come get this.
I think all we have to do is go to the Beacon whatever and be like, we want to have a garage sale.
Yeah, but we should ask Mary.
I realized they don't seem to call them garage sales out here. I think that's a more Midwestern thing where everyone
they
has a
call
garage.
them garage sale, tag sale, yard sale. They call them all sorts of things.
What's really weird, what I never see around here are the basement sales.
No, they have estate sales.
Yeah,
but I never seen a basement sale ever.
Not only did we do a basement sale a couple times.
You called it a basement sale?
Because it was. People came into our house and went into the basement. And in the basement, we set up a garage sale.
I've never seen a basement sale.
It was always weird going to basement sales, though, because you basically go into someone's house, and it's their normal living house. And one thing I can say, people may or may not comment on how messy or neat, me and Scott or other people who live are. From my experiences going to other people's houses as a child in the suburbs, the vast majority of people fall into two camps. They either have the fake living room that no one actually uses full of knickknacks, and then the hidden family room that's just a disaster where they actually do stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of the people I knew, in Connecticut, the style was you'd have a house with a bunch of rooms, and a lot of the rooms some rooms would be clean and some rooms wouldn't. Like the basement would just be this disaster, or their minivan would be a disaster. And some of the, bedroom, the kid's bedroom would be a disaster, and the parents' bedroom would be clean. And then the kitchen, like one half the kitchen and the dining room would be clean, and the other half of the kitchen would be a disaster. And it's like they never clean the disaster parts, but they kept the clean parts always clean.
But a lot of times the clean parts were the rooms that just never got used at all, or the showrooms. Like when I first moved into, we got a big house in Sterling Heights as a kid, so we had what all our relatives had, a living room and a family room. And what ended up happening was the family room was our normal living room, and the living room was just this other living room with couches and a TV and everything that no one ever sat in. It was just empty and full of knickknacks. So then we turned that into a computer room, and we moved everything around.
Yeah, also a common pattern I saw was they would have, like, in the basement, there'd be a TV and a couch, and that's where kids would go to go watch TV or play video games. And then there'd be a real living room, which would be clean, where they would all, the adults would sit and watch TV.
Yep. But the other camp of people, as far as I could tell, they just lived in filth. Just the level of mess, not even just mess like there's stuff laying around, but like stacks of pizza boxes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing is that, it's like there's a certain level of, there are people that are super clean. There's a whole range of people and how clean they are. But I think that the people who are super clean,
I think there's an event horizon.
They never, they'll find someone who's sort of middling clean and they'll be like, oh my God, it's terrible. It's like they haven't seen the really terrible, because that's the kind of person that they're never going to interact with ever. And they're never going to go to that person's house. And they're never going to see how bad it really can be. And then won't understand how the medium clean person is actually really clean.
One thing I always, as a kid,
it's like unless you go to a lot of people's houses, you're not really gonna sort of, figure out like, who, how many people are in. That'd be actually a really good scientific study if you would.
Census would ask.
Yeah, if the census would just like sort of evaluate how clean people's houses are, and they could be like 10% of houses we would classify as uber clean, and
Uber, eh?
Yeah, like, uber clean is like, old lady with plastic on the couch, and China in a cabinet.
Can you imagine the shitstorm the Republicans would raise if the census workers came in to look around your house?
Well,
as opposed to just asking you questions.
They would just peek, they would be the judgment from looking in the windows in the front door.
That could be, because what if it's like the serial killer with the nice exterior and the nice like anteroom or the nice foyer, and then inside bodies everywhere.
That's fine. Then at least you're doing some cleaning. It's like, you could tell from, I think, the front few rooms how
What
clean.
amazes me is the surprising number of people who kind of pass that event horizon of cleanliness to where they just stop like using the toilet, or they just stop.
You can see those on the internet, a lot of them, like the guy poops in jars, or the guy just never throws anything out, so the house is just a pile of trash.
It's such a common thing. Like there was one recently on Park I found where a dude literally, like his neighbors called the police because they thought he died.
But really, he just smelled so bad?
He just smelled so bad because the apartment was just full of garbage. Yeah. And the thing is, as far everyone who talked to him, he was basically completely sane, and there was nothing you could really, like, you couldn't arrest him for being insane except that his apartment was disgusting.
Well, you could say it's an environmental hazard.
I think they evicted him.
Yeah, that works too. All right.
Yeah. So it's Thursday. Which means
shit.
We gotta really, I feel now like there's a big change. We're moving around in our lives and everything. And sometime next week we'll have the, state of the podcast, because all you punk kids are like panicking about Geeknights going away, even though it's not.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like we said way back we were gonna make Thursday different, and we'd always like pointedly try to make Thursday different and more loose.
Couldn't fail. And
then we'd always like we do one, we're like, yeah, we didn't do news. We just talked about fun stuff. It was Thursday. Yeah. And then the next Thursday, we'd be sitting here with the show like, there's fucking no news. And we just like pick news and talk about stuff we didn't care about.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should, if we're going to maybe not record at night, or, well, maybe we'll probably still record at night because that's when we're home from work. But I mean, maybe we should change our format, something. I don't know.
Not just Thursday. All we have to do is go back to what we kept saying we were going to make Thursday. Thursday was the free format. Thursday was the lounge.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. Anyway, so do we want to... Oh, things of the day, right?
Yeah, we got some things of the day.
Okay.
So things of the day. I hate to go to just a College Humor, but more and more I realize you guys
That's the only website you look at with funny stuff.
Not only that, you guys, as far as I can tell, don't go to College Humor.
Isn't that weird? That it's like College Humor is a filter of internet videos that's pretty good, but now we're like a filter of a filter.
Yeah. I don't know where you people find funny things on the internet.
And, actually, I think that it's sort of, if you look at a lot of filter sites, right? It's basically the way they work is they just anything they see that's sort of, whoever the filter is likes, they put it up. And some days there might be a lot and some days they might be a little. I think a better way to make a filter would be that at the end of the day,
you have to have put up X things?
No, you limit it to X things. So it's like even if there were 10 great things, you only can put up 3. And that way, I think there's at least 3 good enough things on the internet every day, right? So if you limit yourself to just like 3 a day, then your filter is going to be really good. And you might miss something. But you know what? It's like, come on, there's enough.
You know what,
you don't
though?
need...
I'm going to have a big problem come November. I'm too used to having my daily Cinemassacre.
Oh, I know, right?
That's like the only thing I can rely on in my life right now is that every day I get a Cinemassacre and I get to see some horribly violent old bloody movie.
Add some more webcomics.
It's hard to find new good webcomics, I'll be honest.
You know what the thing is? Every time I find a good new webcomic, I forget to add it to my webcomic bookmark folder. Yeah. But now I just installed a clean OS, so I'll be redoing my webcomic bookmark
Or more
folder.
than once, I'll find a new webcomic, and I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I go through the archives, and then I get up to the recent one, and I realize it's the same one I looked at when I first found the webcomic, and I find out it's not updating anymore.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Every day, I basically go to, my comics folder, I open it in tabs, and then I'll manually go to, XKCD later. It's just when I remember to. It's like, why don't I add it to the thing,
I'm even worse. I've gotten to the point I really only read Penny Arcade, VG Cats, XKCD, and Oots.
You're not reading Dr. McNinja?
Well, Dr. McNinja, I don't even have to say. That's just a given. Dr. McNinja is not very few things on this earth have ever so coincided with my humorous aesthetic as Dr. McNinja.
Yeah.
My head is off.
All right, it's not the webcomic show. Let's.
Pulp Fiction with a laugh track.
Oh yeah, I saw this.
It's good. The reason I use this is that we're trying to watch Seinfeld again, and people in the forum keep trying to get us to watch these TV shows, and I just cannot watch a show with a laugh track anymore. It is unwatchable. Laugh tracks.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like I used to watch TV. Up until I was 18 years old, I watched a lot of TV.
Yeah,
maybe
every
not
day.
as much as a couch potato, but a few hours a day I would watch TV. A lot of cartoons, Seinfeld. Right?
So I realized in America, if you sit around and watch too much TV, you're a couch potato.
Yeah.
If you wander around space with a gun, you're a space potato.
Why are you a space potato?
Leiji Matsumoto.
Oh, haha.
Yeah,
Okay. So, yeah, the thing is, I didn't really notice laugh tracks. Then after, years of not watching TV really much at all, and then the only times I really watch TV is, live sports, which don't have laugh tracks. I went back to watch Seinfeld again more recently, and the laugh track, it's, really stands out like a sore thumb and is incredibly painful. Really
it's not just
painful.
that, ads and everything. When I stopped watching TV and then, I came back to home in Michigan for a week after I'd been at college for months and months with no TV. And TV was on and I was kind of doing something, kind of paying attention to it. And then the ads happened and I just couldn't deal with it.
While I was waiting for the cable guy yesterday, I watched The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror on Hulu, right, with the stolen wireless.
Not as good as it used to be?
It was average-ish. But it was definitely not as good as, some of the best of them. But there was a commercial. It was only one commercial, but in the middle of the episode, it's just commercial. I'm like, what the fuck? It totally threw me off. Anyway.
So, Pulp Fiction with a laugh track. This is how watching
you can see,
this.
Look how the laugh track changes Pulp Fiction. Now, and for humorous but also negative effect depending on your point of view.
But I guess the way you might feel watching this is how I feel watching any show with a laugh track. It's just what's going on? Of course, independently, that show that people what was the show they kept trying to get us to watch about the geeks?
I don't know. I just know that there was some TV show that was just a crappy sitcom where all the proper nouns were nerd proper nouns.
Yep.
It's come on, if you actually, at least the Arrested Development was actually somewhat of an original show and wasn't following the standard sitcom formula.
Yep, and it was actually pretty funny.
Steve Holt. Okay, no touching.
Okay.
Oh, my thing of the day, right?
Yeah, because we're all fast and loose here. It's like fast karate for the Geeknights.
This is what happens when we're going during the day and we're not freaking tired as all hell.
Yeah. Plus, we haven't, Scott's been moving and stuff, and I was working in the night shift all last week. We actually haven't talked at length for like a week.
We're refreshed now.
Like I would
it's
literally
F5 time.
Scott would come home from work and I'd be like getting ready to go to work, and then he'd like go to Queens and
Anyway, there's always all sorts of awesome stuff made out of Lego. Big things, nerdy things.
I believe you mean Lego bricks.
No, Lego is plural.
No, it's Lego bricks.
Anyway, Lego is the plural of Lego. Regardless, this dude made a pop-up book out of Lego. Now, it's not a whole pop-up book. It only has one, quote, page. But basically, it's a rectangular box of Lego, but you can open it up, and when you do, a castle comes out. It's kind of crazy and awesome. You can't really understand how it works until you see the video of it, and then you'd be like, oh, I get it. And just like thinking about how the dude made this thing, it's like I can't even like begin to even imagine. Like, where would you start? Like, oh my God. So it's pretty amazing. One of the best Lego things I've seen, probably like top 5 at least of Lego things ever. So you should probably see it. It's a video on the internet, and it's nice. The video actually, replays the transformation sequence over and over slowly from all kinds of angles, so you can really see what's going on here, as opposed to being like, huh, what the fuck? Okay.
So, we kind of delayed purposefully now building up to this because people have been bugging me for the story since I tweeted about it.
I don't think I've even heard the whole story with details. And of course, I will be as we discussed at the beginning of the show, I will be challenging your hyperboles. Although the problem is I was not there, so I do not know the truth, so I cannot protect people from the
thing is,
hyperboles,
aside from the fact that
as usual,
I have the pictures of everything I could take pictures of. And the evidence and the chain and everything I have all this physical evidence to back it up.
That's pretty good.
Including the fact that I got my bike back.
Yep. Where is it? I haven't seen it.
It's at Emily's place because I can't ride it. The jackass cut up the seat. I don't know how you could sit on it. It would anyway. We'll see.
Cut up the seat?
Yeah. Well, the reason Scott didn't hear the story was that everyone came over because we were going to the geeky wedding of Cat and Steve.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone was like meeting at our house and then all going to the wedding. But everyone came at different times. So people came, and they're like, oh, my God, the bike. So I told the story of the bike. And then more people came. And then someone would be like, yeah, Rim, tell them the story about the bike. So I'd tell the story again. And then more people came. And more people came. And then finally, I think Nuri and Pete and Scott are back. So I start to tell the story, and then, we got distracted by something, and we all went to the wedding.
Yep.
So I didn't actually tell the story to the rest of those people.
Uh-huh.
Though, to my credit, I had to tell the story so many times. The fact that it was consistent among all those tellings is a tiny bit of evidence for the fact that it is, in fact, true.
I'm not denying the truth of the story, but I know, and I will assume that various details that sound hyperbolic, there will be much exaggeration of small things. Even though the story as a whole will probably be very accurate, it will not be precise.
I can be I will be 100% precise. In fact, I'll make an effort to not in any way exaggerate a moment of it.
Uh-huh.
So, to begin, the
You've already
fable.
failed right there.
To begin, that's meta. That's fine. That is different. To begin, the fable of how Rim got.
Is it really a fable? Is there a moral?
I think there is a moral.
It can't be a fable without a moral.
There's a moral. This is a Geeknights fable. We haven't done one of these in 2 years.
The lion and the mouse, leave the thumbtack in the lion's
story
paw
of
so
how
he doesn't
Rim
fucking eat you.
got his motherfucking bike back. So I was walking home from the train station, and Thor appeared. And Thor was like, Rim, I just wanted to tell you, you're like the coolest dude ever.
What happened to the...
All right. So I'd stayed in the city late to hang out with Yuko and Ananth and everybody, all our friends that we don't get to see a lot, even though they live in Brooklyn now, right there. But that's just because they're busy and we're busy. And Emily had to stay in the city to use a work computer to do some Japanese lesson thing. So I took 2 trains earlier home than she did.
Mm-hmm.
So I get home at 10 o'clock. It's super late. My car's still busted. It was cold. I didn't bring my rollerblades to the train station or anything.
You just walk to Emily's house and sleep?
So I was going to walk to Emily's house and basically just fall asleep and wait for her to get home and then, I don't know, eat some food or something because I was hungry.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm walking up from the train station and, behind the train station, there's there's the sidewalk up and then over the bridge.
Yep.
So I'm walking back over there. And that's where my bike was originally stolen from, the bike lock area over there.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I would walk past that, I would always kind of look at the bike lock area Just in case my bike was there. Obviously, it was never there. I mean, what kind of thief is stupid enough to put the bike where he stole it from?
Usually a bike thief just sort of sells it or gets rid of it or takes it far away. I mean, you would have to be a real moronic bike thief to like park it where you stole it from.
Well, we'll see where this goes. So I'm tired, and as I'm walking up the sidewalk, I see a bike chained with like crazy chain, like 2 lengths of thick chain to a tree, like 2.5 football fields up from where the bikes are normally locked up by itself. And as I walk by, I've already done the so I don't think to do that again. I just keep walking. I'm like, hey, bike. Hey, it kind of looks like my bike. Hey. It was my bike.
Someone stole a bike and then crazy chained it to a tree.
Well, obviously they're afraid it was going to get stolen.
I can see how you would be afraid it was going to get stolen if you know how easy it is to steal them.
Because there's bike thieves about. But no, for a second I'm looking at it and I'm like, is this my bike? I can't really tell because it's got electrical tape all over it and it's got a different seat on it. So I'm standing here like looking at it. But the serial number on the front is the same serial number. Like, it's the same.
You had a serial number?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not going to say it on the air, but it has a 4-digit serial number stamped onto a badge on it. Because this is back, remember, this bike is so old. This is when Schwinn had the lifetime warranty. To this day, I can take that bike to any Schwinn dealer.
I know there's a lot less Schwinn now. Don't you know? It's like now it's all like Trek and Cannondale and Specialized. Those are like the kings now. Schwinn has sort of disappeared.
They're still around.
Obviously they're still around, but I'm saying that the other brands of bike are taking the front seat.
I could do a whole show on what happened with Schwinn. The short story I could tell you is that Schwinn started making bikes for people like Walmart. And they started making lower quality, like lower end bikes in addition to their high end bikes.
I just read this great article talking about the Croc shoes, and it basically was the same thing. Is that Croc shoes, they were around, and they were sort of like, it's this indestructible foam. Personally, I think the shoes look stupid, but, people were interested in them. The mistake they made was that they expanded so quickly. It was like this thing that you could only buy in certain places and was sort of special. And they made it completely non-special by producing a bajillion of them and selling them in every fuck store.
But that was brilliant because look what happened. They did that.
They're in debt now.
Oh, because they screwed it up. What you're supposed to do is once you have that fad boom, like as soon as the fad boom starts, stop production because it's going to stop within 3 months and you'll be done.
See, but what you could the better idea, that is a good idea, is to just ride the fad and then stop as soon as the fad is over.
No, that's all I want because I want to have money. I don't want to be making money.
Right.
I want to have money and be done with it.
But the correct business strategy is you keep it so that you can only buy them in a few select places and you don't flood the market with supply, so they remain sort of this hot item, and that's what determines the difference between a fad and like an icon.
I'd rather have the fad because then the fad I sell.
Well, are you looking for money or are you looking for king?
I'm looking for money so I can become king in a different arena. Do you want to be the Croc King?
Those guys did, and they failed.
Yeah, because you don't want to be the Croc King.
Yeah. Anyway,
maybe the Crocodile King.
Now they're the Croc Popper.
So it's clearly my bike, but here's what the dude has done. One, he has wrapped black electrical tape around different parts of the frame in some like sad attempt to disguise the bike.
I like the electrical tape look, but I mean, not for disguising purposes.
He's covered up part of the Schwinn thing, and how I have those like mountain bike handlebar things on the top, like stick out the front.
Yep.
He put duct tape on those too, and then electrical tape to like cover it all up to make the bike look different. He also. The seat, I had that seat on it.
Yep.
He cut all this like fabric of the seat off because it was a very distinctive like orthopedic kind of seat, and cut it down to like the bare structure to make it look different. Basically ruined it.
That seat was expensive.
That was like an $80 seat.
Yeah.
So he basically ruined the thing and did all this other like dumb stuff to the bike to disguise it. But he was unable to fully disguise it. He did not cover the entire frame in electrical tape. He put like 1 2-foot length of tape wrapped around like one part of the frame, and then another like 1.5 foot length of electrical tape.
You're supposed to do the whole thing. That's what makes it look cool with the electrical tape look.
I don't know if he just couldn't afford enough electrical tape or what.
But he couldn't afford a bike.
But even better, he like wrapped around like the front before and after where my water bottle thing is. but he didn't wrap around the water bottle thing, but that's where the big Schwinn logo was. And he cut the water bottle thing. Like he was trying to remove it from the bike, but it failed. Like he literally, like I can see he must have hacksawed through it a couple times, but he couldn't quite get it off, so he gave up. I guess he didn't have an Allen wrench.
Yeah, right. Obviously not a bike person if he doesn't have an Allen wrench.
So
obviously also not an IKEA person.
So I'm standing here looking at my bike, double chain with this super thick chain and 2 locks. 2 locks that had a key lock and a combination lock. Good ones, like high quality ones.
Wow, he can afford good locks, but he can't afford electrical tape.
So I'm standing here looking at my bike thinking, what the fuck? So there's no way to get the bike off the tree. Like there's no way I'm going to do it.
Cut the tree down.
I don't have any tools or anything.
You could have just
on
called
me.
the police and been like, this is my bike.
I never actually told the police the bike was stolen because I never expected to get it back.
Oh, well, I would have reported it anyway, just for the sake of it.
Yeah,
So it's on the file.
Yeah, I might report it later just to get it, but I don't care. So I'm standing there, and it's like, what the fuck am I going to do? And even if I called the police, it's like 11 o'clock at night in Beacon. Unless I call 911, there's going to be no police coming. And are they going to come with like a side cutter or something?
You can just get a bolt cutter. Clink.
Plus, while I knew the serial number of the bike,
We could have gone to Home Depot and gotten one.
I no longer had like the documentation. Like I could not have easily proven that it was actually my bike.
Do we have photos of you with the bike somewhere?
Yeah, we could dig those up, but it would have been time consuming, and I would have had to convince the police right then to cut the bike down and give it to me. With or without a police report, it might not have been that easy. So also, my phone, because I hadn't charged it in 2 days, was out of battery.
Yeah, good job, Mr. Never charges the phone. Never even picks up the phone, even if it is charged.
So,
What's the point of having it?
because I don't use the phone, I use it as it's a portable internet device that happens to be able to call people.
Yeah.
So I'm standing there thinking, all right, I cannot leave this spot lest the jackass come and take the bike. But I haven't figured out what to do yet. So I'm looking around. I don't see anyone like around. I'm debating like, should I just wait for Emily to come home? But what if she walks out the other way from the train station? As I'm standing there, this large African-American gentleman comes up behind me and says, "Can I help you?" And he's not quite a foot taller than me, but he's a full head taller than me.
So this guy just walks up to you and asks if he can help you just when you're just standing there?
Yeah, I'm standing in front of this bike, like looking at the bike. I'm like examining the bike because I'm still also thinking, I'm sure this is my bike, right? I'm sure because I remembered that 4-digit number, but I wasn't 100% sure because it'd been so long since I'd looked at that number. So I'm like, there's no way this isn't my bike. Who has an orange Schwinn from 15 years ago in Bacon?
Nobody.
Jesus. So and then I back up and I'm like looking at the bike, like, all right, what do I do? And the guy comes up. He's like, "Can I help you?" So I look at him, and he has the look of someone who's going to give me some trouble, and I am sure this is the guy who stole my bike. And he has not figured out yet that this is my bike and that I have full knowledge. I have my cell phone still in my hand because the battery was dead, and I determined this fact when I went to turn it on to call someone. And as a note, you know why it was dead? Because I used it the entire way home on the train looking at the internet with my 1 bar of Evdu.
Yeah, you should not do that.
So I look at him, and, he has asked this question, and before he can give me any trouble, I just say, "This is my fucking bike. It was stolen from the train station like a month ago. I can't believe I found it here." And I kind of turn my back to him for a second, like I don't know it's him. And then I turn back and I have my phone in my hand. I'm like, "Yeah, I called the police. I'm just waiting for them to come and cut it down for me." And he looks at me for a second, and he goes like he's about to argue or something. And then he fucking runs. He just turns around and runs.
I would have run after him and beat him up.
He was a head taller than me. And basically,
What happened to Mr. Kung Fu?
Kung Fu, it doesn't matter how good you are at a martial art. Anytime you get into an altercation with a person, there's a chance you're going to get hurt.
Yeah. But is it where, it's not going to kill you. So you'll just get hurt in exchange for awesome.
No, because getting my bike back was my only concern.
No. Okay, so wait, the thing is, right? You got to get the keys from the dude to get the bike off.
No, because
that's the reason to chase him.
Nah. Also, I did not want to interact with him too much. And that's part of the moral, because this is something my dad taught me as a kid, and it is rung true to this day. It is the one of the entire morals of this whole event.
The fable moral?
Yes, it's the fable moral. So now I'm standing there, and the guy's run off. I still can't get the bike off. So I wait until he's run out of sight, and then I follow him. surreptitious like. And after he's gotten around the corner, he's just walking, kind of hunched over, obviously pissed off. He never once turns around and looks behind him. And I kind of like slinked along and followed him from a distance just to see where he went. He lives in those crappy, shady, like low-rent apartments next to where Emily and Alex live.
Uh-huh.
So I know exactly where he lives. I've seen the dude like hanging out around town since then. So, all right, I determined that he's gone back to his house. And because I bluffed him with the phone thing about the police, he's obviously not going to go back to where the bike is anytime soon, lest the police get him. So now I go into Emily's apartment. It's like, what do I do? So I scavenge around, and it just so happens that Emily has a hacksaw.
Aren't these big? Are these what kind of chains are on there? Are they like New York City kind of chains?
Yes.
So how's a hacksaw going to get through that?
Hacksaws cut through those things like butter. Have you ever used a hacksaw?
Yeah, but I mean, through that kind of chain, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. All right.
Like butter.
Uh-huh. Must have been some hacksaw.
Yeah, well, the main part of the chain was about the thickness of this Allen wrench, a little thicker than this. Each leg.
Okay, no. So that wasn't the big New York City chain.
Scott, the big New York City chain is not that much thicker than this and would take maybe 2 more minutes of hacksawing to get through.
It must have been a good hacksaw.
Hacksaws are hacksaws. You've obviously never used a hacksaw.
I've used a
metal.
hacksaw, but it only took me a lot of time to get through metal.
Maybe you're not that strong.
Like I would
I don't
hacksaw
know.
some pipes, and it would take me 15 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
It took me 10 minutes to hacksaw through this entire chain.
All right. No.
So anyway, I grabbed like this hacksaw and a bunch of wrenches, not wrenches, but a bunch of like pliers and things. And I walked back down there. And of course now, if the dude like comes back,
You can attack him with a hacksaw.
yes, I can hacksaw him. Because remember, part of my, bluff with the phone, saying I called the police was that in case I didn't really want to have to fight the guy, but I was prepared to fight the guy. And
Mean Bean Machine.
basically my plan was to bluff with the phone. If he calls my bluff at all, or looks like he's about to call my bluff, that was going to be a kick in the nuts.
Yep.
Pretty much unprovoked and immediate.
Yep.
But no, he ran, and nothing could have been more telling of his guilt than the fact that he ran. ran. Also proved that he's a coward.
Yep.
So I go back, and the bike's there, and this is what I learned. This is a secondary moral, a secondary fable part of this. I stole my bike back, and many, many people observed me doing this. No one so much as looked at me twice. No one called the police. No one even asked me what I was doing. I'm sitting there in a trench coat, hunched over some dude's bike, hacksawing the chain off. Loudly and obviously. People walked by as a train had let out and did not even, they just walked right by. They didn't even look at me. No one slowed down their car. No one.
Well, you know what it is, right? It's like if you're doing something like that and you're actually guilty, right? Why would you do it in plain sight? You would do it all shadily. Like if it was dark and you were trying to hide from people, then they'd be like, oh, a bike thief. But the fact that you're doing it wide open suggested that you had lost your bike keys or something. That's the assumption that good people make.
The answer to that clearly is I should steal every bike in Beacon.
Duh.
With a hacksaw, loudly.
This is the difference. This is why, right? Like a cowardly thief like that fails, but the brave thief does not. The brave thief will just go and act like he's supposed to be there, and he can just commit crimes in plain sight, and no one will even realize it.
But
the cowardly thief tries to do things the TV way. It's the same thing with the terrorists, right? The terrorists that succeed are the very few that are like engineers with the smart thing. Of course, those people are good and would never do such a thing.
Even better though, at one point, after I've cut the bike off, and remember, I kind of skipped this part, but after the guy ran away and I followed him to see where he lived, I went back to the bike first. I took my front seat, my seat and the front tire off so that if he happened to go back, if I was unable to cut the bike off till the next day, at least he couldn't ride it away to slow him down. So I carried that back up, and I had cut the bike off again, and I was walking back up toward Emily's house carrying a bike that was missing its front tire and carrying a hacksaw and carrying the chain I had just cut. A cop drove by slowly and did not even, he saw me and did not even care. Didn't even ask, is that your bike? I expected the cop to at least be like, is that your bike? And if I said yes, maybe he just would have not cared. The fact that he said nothing was hilarious.
He didn't even look at you?
He looked at me like the way cops look at everybody when they drive by.
Wow.
With that, non-seeing, I look, but I do not comprehend.
That's even, usually we're all like, oh, police can't be searching my shit. You're telling me that's not like probable cause to at least talk to someone?
Yes, like if he had tried to arrest me,
someone
I
with a
would've guessed.
hacksaw and a bike with missing pieces.
But at least hey, how's it going there, mister? You need some help with that bike?
I know, right?
Can I help you?
At least, you know what? That makes me feel good about those police. That's a good policeman who just, lets it go because he doesn't know the story. That could be anything.
What's cool in general,
There's a reasonable doubt.
Beacon police have been generally cooler to me than any police I've ever engaged with in my entire life.
I know, right? The Beacon police are so much better than like the Fishkill police.
Oh
or
my God.
The Newburgh police.
The coolest thing, Beacon police, there are no speed traps. When they do a quote-unquote speed trap, there's only one place they go, and it's this road where people shouldn't fucking be speeding.
Also, they like to put their speeding machines out, which actually, if you investigate like the statistics of those things, they actually work really well
Except
at
against
increasing safety for a low price.
Except against, when I was young and I had my race car as a kid, those were basically high score meters.
Duh. But, statistically, those things work really well, and they're well worth, putting them in strategic places.
Well, they should put them at the train station because people go like 50 miles an hour through that parking lot.
I know, right? Well, they have one there all the time. But
Yeah.
they never actually sit near them and pull anyone over. They just leave them out there, which is what you're supposed to do with
But
those.
when they do, traps, they don't do speed trap. They do fucking four-way stop Jesus Christ traps.
Yep.
And I love it when they do that because literally I'll see them pull over many people as could possibly be pulled over in a day.
If I was a cop, I would do the only kind of pull. I could totally fill all quotas just by pulling people over for not putting their goddamn lights on.
Oh my God, at
Their
night or in the
wipers are
rain.
on. Yeah. So is that the whole story of the bike returning?
Well, there's all the little follow-up stuff, but basically, yeah, I go back, I carry the bike back and the chain, and this guy, he's such a genius. Or I'll get to that part. I can explain all the reasons why he's a genius.
Such a genius.
Because again, it's better. There's so much to why this guy is so great. But I carried the bike back to Emily's house. I'm victorious. I have my bike. I feel like a man. I confronted the guy. I bluffed. I was willing to fight, but I did not actually have to fight because of my clever bluff of having called the police with my dead cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
And Emily comes home, and I tell the story, and everyone's happy, and the story's done. I've got my bike. I have to get it fixed. There was damage done. I'm gonna have to spend about $100 fixing this bike.
Let's just get a new bike.
Because this bike is a great bike. I am gonna get a new bike, but I'm gonna keep this bike.
Yeah.
Actually, my plan is to buy a new bike, but I'm going to buy a street bike. As much as I like mountain biking, I don't mountain bike enough to justify a $2,000 mountain bike.
I'm gonna get a bike that is comfortable for just going around the streets.
So I'm going to keep this as
the most kind of comfortable bike would actually be the recumbent bike, but that's not gonna happen.
Why not?
It's like you'll get fucking killed.
So I'm going to keep this bike as my mountain bike, and I'm going to basically now I'm going to renovate the thing. I'm going to have to replace all the stuff the jackass broke on it.
Yeah. I mean, I've had 2 bikes stolen. The second bike I had stolen was the far less exciting story. I was in summer camp, actually, and my bike was just sort of tied up on the side of the house. And then I was at Action Park, or was it Dorney Park? I forget.
Doesn't matter.
I was at summer camp. I was on a summer camp trip to an amusement park. I was in an arcade. I used the when you're out at summer camp, you always use the payphone to call your parents whenever you're out and about. So I did. And my mom was like, yeah, your bike got stolen. I was like, from the fucking side of the house? What the fuck? And that was it. And then since then, I didn't have a bike again until the one that I have now, which is broken. But the bike I had before that one, right, was stolen. Basically, I was stupid. And we were, basically I used my bike to go between all different friends' houses who lived on the same street. And, we'd all ride bikes around and whatnot, to play wiffle ball, whatever. And I had left it, lying on the lawn.
I always did that. There's never any trouble.
Right. So, I was upstairs playing some video games. It was, nice, bright, sunny day. I was, and, I hear some, kids laughing outside, but the only kids on our block are the ones that I know, the ones I go to ride bikes with. And I look out the window and I see some 3 kids I don't know on bikes riding down the hill. And I'm like, oh, new kids, huh? Oh, whatever. And I'm playing some video games. Go outside eventually, after an hour or so. My bike's gone. My friend's bike is gone. My friend's bike is gone. Everyone's bikes are gone because everyone had left them lying on their lawns, respectively. So apparently some new kids came along and stole all our bikes at once, the whole block's worth of bikes. Apparently stealing one bike is really not enough to get the police to show up. But back in that day and time, in the summer, in a town where there's not that much crime, really, when a whole block's worth of bikes got stolen all at once, the police decide to actually come and do something. So, but there were actually like 3 police cars on our street. Everyone was talking to them. They were taking statements and asking questions, and they had little notebooks writing everything down. My dad gets in his car and starts driving around looking. The police are driving around looking. I'm just sitting at home going, dum-de-dum, I guess I'll just play more video games.
Yeah, that's what you do.
All right. Eventually, my dad comes back with my bike, and I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? Apparently, as he told it, as I remember, this is like a long time ago, like
he ran
almost
the kids
20,
down.
almost 20 years ago, the way he told it was that he found the kids, he was driving after them, he got to like an intersection, and cops are coming at him from the other end of the intersection, and the kids like bail off into the woods. My dad gets the bike back, and I guess the police got the kid. And my bike, I got it back, but they bent the handlebars.
How do you bend the handlebars?
I don't understand. Apparently, this thing a lot of people do and did is that when they get a bike, they'll like bend the handlebars. They'll just like go and bend them. And it's like, So I sat on the bike and I was like, and I put my hands on the handlebars. I was like, what the fuck? Like you could tell immediately they were wrong. So my dad sort of bent them back to where they were, but it was like, it was not ever
Could have bought
correct.
new handlebars.
Yeah, it was a Huffy, so whatever. I mean, it was like, who gave a shit? All right? It was like a $50 bike. But the point is, they stole it. And I used that bike a lot in those days to go around, to people's houses. And it was actually, that is something that will not happen ever again. Police actually like chasing down bike thieves. But yeah, all of our bikes were returned. And all those kids, I saw them sitting in the back of the police cars going, shit.
Nah, to juvie to them.
I don't know if they'll go to juvie, but they'll probably just get, a scolding and get sent back to their parents. And
Wonder where those kids are now.
probably, I imagine they are not presidents of large corporations. I would bet on that.
So, an assessment of my bike as I get it back. The dude had poorly tried to disguise it. Very poorly. So he won.
Why is it the bike thieves always vandalize the bike? If I'm going to steal a bike, number 1, I'll probably do what Rim did. I'll just hacksaw it in plain sight. Number 2, I'll take it far, far away and never go back to where it came from with it. And 3, I won't do anything to it because it's probably in really good condition. Why would I ruin it? If anything, I'll make it better.
Well, because I have an assessment of the person who stole my bike, and I think it's pretty accurate. I feel that he looked like he was about 27, 28, like about our age.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure he's a habitual thief of opportunity. I have a feeling that this guy will pretty much steal anything that is easily stolen without a lot of risk.
Why doesn't he rob like all the stores in town that have no security whatsoever?
Because that's upping the ante. There's a lot more risk there. But steal, like someone leaves a bike out, someone leaves like a car running, whatever. I don't know if he'd even steal a car. I don't think he's on that level. Someone leaves something out, just take it if you can use it. And the reason I think this is that it wasn't just a punk kid like I expected stealing it for a joyride, because a punk kid would have left it in the woods somewhere.
Yep.
Or would sell it. They would have done something with it. They wouldn't have continued to use it as their mode of transportation. And 2, he knew that there was a danger of being caught. He obviously has done this before, or at least put enough thought, enough premeditation into his actions after stealing it as a theft of opportunity to disguise it poorly in order to prevent it from being discovered that he has in fact stolen it. So he thought that through to some degree.
Well, I mean, it's like they know they had to do something, but he didn't do enough.
Now, also, to disguise it, he cut up the seat as much as he could. I don't know how he could ride it, though, because basically it would shove a spike up your ass if you sat on it.
He probably didn't sit. He probably stood.
Yeah. Pushing along.
Yeah, obviously not a bike expert.
Now,
the thing is, if you're a bike expert, you have your own bike. That's how you become a bike expert.
I don't think he knew how to shift the gears. Because 1, the gear was in the gear I'd left it in, which is a gear you can't really use to ride it. It's like the going up a steep hill gear.
The granny gear.
Yes. Well, or the mountain biker gear. And 2, I don't think he knew how to shift the front gears because he cut off the front shifter wire completely. He removed it.
What?
Because I think the way it was left, he probably wasn't strong enough to ride it, and he couldn't figure out how to shift it to an easier gear. So he cut the wire, which caused it to default to the easiest gear. So I have to replace like the shifter wire and everything.
I would just buy a new one.
Why? This bike is still like the frame. It'd be like $400 to buy another frame like that.
I don't know. Whatever.
Plus, I mean, like I said, I'm going to keep this as my mountain bike. I'm going to fully refurbish it because that's still a lot cheaper than buying a new mountain bike. And I've ridden like the $11,000, $12,000 mountain bikes. And I still, to this day, prefer a hardtail over a full suspension. Mostly because I don't do the crazy hardcore mountain biking. I do like I'm a mid-core mountain biker.
I don't think I'll ever need a bike with the rear suspension. Maybe if I had a motorcycle, I would need one.
So I'm gonna buy a street bike like new, like a $3,000 or $4,000 nice street bike, and I'll use that as my street biking around bike.
Yeah. I'll get a new one in the spring that is appropriate for city bikings.
But dude, the dude probably, maybe even left. He had a bike originally that he left behind somewhere because he stole it from the train station. You know, I left it unlocked with all the other bikes, like not locked up. You would have had to go over and like check and be like, hey, this bike isn't locked, and take it. So definitely habitual thief of opportunity. Coward because he ran away from me when he could have easily, at least from perception, just looking at me, he possibly could have, from his perception, overpowered me and just taken the bike away and then been safe. But no, he ran as soon as there was any thought of the police possibly finding him.
I mean, it probably, either A, it was like, a repeat offender, so, the police, it was not going to be too good. Because, I mean, really, if that's all he'd ever done was stolen that bike, really, what's the penalty? It's not that bad. What are they going to put you? You're not even going to go to jail, really, probably, for that. And if you do, it'll be like for days, not for, months and months and months. Like if you would.
But I just think the psychology, the reason I think he's a repeat offender and habitual and all this is just the manner in which he disguised the bike was so premeditated and yet so poor.
No, that's the thing, is like anyone who's actually good at crime doesn't get caught and is not really considered to be a criminal. This is what organized crime is all about. It's
even worse, anyone who's smart enough to pull off like the crazy crime could probably make more money with a job.
Exactly. That's another problem.
Yep. So I gotta like repair all this
Anyone
stuff.
who's smart enough to do terrorism is smart enough to make a lot of money with being an engineer. Anyone who's smart, this is the same problem that the whole world has. The vast majority of people with evil intent are also incredibly stupid, because anyone who's incredibly smart can actually get what they want without being, evil. It's like if you're really smart, you can get rich just by working. The only people who are going to resort to crime to get a bunch of money, people who are not smart enough to get a good job.
I mean, look, despite the fact that he disguised the bike as best as his brain could manage, he parked it where he stole it. But again, look, he recognized that whoever he stole it from might see it if he left it with all the bikes, like chained up to the bike thing. So he parked it like 200 yards up the way, like the person wouldn't see it. But that's on the path you'd have to walk if you went that way anyway.
Yep.
It's probably been parked there every day, and I just never walked that way until that one night.
It's quite possible.
So that, and 3, he had this crazy chain, right? And 2 locks, and the chain was like wrapped around the bike and around the tree. Upon investigation, after I came back with a hacksaw, the entire chaining effort rested upon one link. So I cut that one link off, and the bike was free.
Yep.
So,
chains, weakest link, and such and such.
Yes, but you'd think if he had 2 locks, he would have thought that he has to have at least more than one link holding the whole thing together.
Yep. Of course, there is an exception to what I was saying before about smartness and criminals, is that they're obviously smart criminals, like, say Enron guys or Madoff guys. But the thing is, you can see that they were very smart. Look how long it took to get Madoff, He was really smart about not getting caught. It's just, when the scrutiny increases, it is very difficult to find them. It was not very difficult to get someone who's dumb.
The thing is, people like that, it would be easy to get them, except that the people they sucker profit in the short term, and thus probably know there's something shady going on, but have the cognitive dissonance and decide not to act on that because they're getting too much of a return.
Yep.
That's the real problem.
No, it's one of the problems. Yeah.
So back to the advice that my dad gave me as a kid, and this is also independently advice that was given to me by an unrelated police officer at one point in my childhood. And the advice was such: if you ever come into conflict, some sort of direct altercation with someone who is not intelligent and of a very low socioeconomic class, and I want to stress, it has to be both. You can't just rag on someone who's poor. It might not be their fault, and being poor sucks. But if they're poor and independently of being poor are stupid, you do not want to entangle your affairs with them in any capacity. And any time you need justice or you need some recompense from someone like that, get it as anonymously and as, I guess, surreptitiously as possible, and never in any way officially engage with them. If possible, do not ever let them know who you are or where you actually live. Because my experience from living in suburbs next to suburbs that had very different socioeconomic classes, anytime there was a conflict between people in the two different neighborhoods, the people from the bad neighborhood would basically just come in the night and vandalize, and there was no way to prove they did it or get them back. People with nothing to lose who are also stupid and who are also vindictive can do a lot of economic harm to people who have assets and have something to lose, and there's really no way to stop them and no way to get them back.
Shoot them.
That's not an answer. Well, of course, that happened. I mean, when I was a kid, one of those stupid people, his name, you know what? The statute of limitations, all that, his name was Nick.
Oh, the kid who's his mom?
His mom
different?
shot him and his dad after the kid came with the dad after they divorced and tried to set the car on fire. Came back to the house, set the car on fire, menaced the wife, so the wife shot the dad and the kid dead.
Yep.
And those sorts of people, the people who would basically come back and vandalize or, do the sort of nothing to lose, surreptitious economic harm, you basically just don't want to have any interaction with those people, because no legal system justice is going to prevent them from coming back and putting onto you their socioeconomic harm. So the best case...
It really is strange in a way that, like, the person who's got, like, if you see your Bill Gates against homeless bum, right? Homeless bum can fucking do all this shit to Bill Gates, but he's got nothing to lose. And what can Bill Gates do to homeless bum? Nothing. I mean, what, if he shoots homeless bum, then that hurts Bill Gates more than it hurts homeless bum. Well,
I would argue more it's the idea that you have to always bear in mind in general that you shouldn't seek revenge. You should really only seek justice in that try to make the world go back to the status quo or better.
Of course.
Prevent harm.
What I'm saying is that, basically this homeless bum, right, is going to keep your Bill Gates. This homeless bum keeps vandalizing your house, keeps terrorizing you, right? There's nothing you can do to him. He's never gonna do something so serious to go to jail for a long time. He'll go to jail for a short time, and then he'll come and harass you. And the amount of time he's away does not really help you out much at all. It just gives you like a short respite.
Also, look at the harm. I mean, if I have a nice car and someone like this decides that they want to get me, they just key up my, $40,000 car.
Yeah, they throw some eggs. Eggs are real cheap. The car is expensive. He doesn't have a car for you to egg. He's a homeless bum. So what is Bill Gates supposed to do in that situation? It's like, okay, he's never going to go to jail forever. He's never going to move away. He's never going to stop harassing me. He has no money for us to take away, right? A restraining order doesn't help, because then he just goes to jail for a short time and gets out again to harass me again. I have all sorts of things that are harassable.
Think of this. Say you engage with one of these people anonymously and they are altercating with you. If you follow up with legal action, now there's a record, and he can find out your name and your address and all that stuff.
Yeah. So what can Bill Gates really do if a homeless bum wants to bother him? You can hire, Bill Gates is so rich that he can have a private security force, like bodyguards and stuff. And thus, he specifically, when you're on that level of richness, he doesn't have to worry. But what if you're like, say, a lawyer, just a normal kind of lawyer in a town? You make $500,000 a year. You're wealthy, but you're not Bill Gates rich. You don't have bodyguards or a private security force. You just drive a Porsche and you have a 5-bedroom house with a big lawn.
Man, I'm gonna have a 5-bedroom house real soon.
And you got
a Porsche.
And you got a homeless bum bothering you. And you have this problem I just described with Bill Gates. Really, it's like you can shoot the bum, obviously that's revenge, but at the same time, that will and is one of the few courses of action you can take that will stop the problem. However, it's like, what else can you possibly do? You can't afford private security. The legal system will not keep the homeless bum away from you long enough. You could, I guess, move, which is like, why should you move just because of a homeless bum?
And this sort of, I guess it's sad, but
it's the same problem where like some illegal immigrant drives a car with no insurance and crashes into you. It's the same problem. It's like, what the fuck can you do?
Well, the really sad thing is that I wish I wasn't just speaking from experience, but having lived, I was born in downtown Detroit. Like I lived in downtown Detroit for a long time, which it's always funny. Like people who don't know me, like strangers, I bring that up, and they always suddenly get this perception that I'm hard somehow. Like, yeah, born in downtown Detroit. I'm just some IT guy. It's like,
All right. I actually have a solution for this problem.
But at the same, I just want to point out that, having lived there and then having moved to very wealthy suburbs next to very poor suburbs, and, there were cool people in the nice areas and cool people. Like, there were cool people in both classes.
Yep.
But the people who were not cool, who were in the lower class, were the ones who, and they would often come into the neighborhoods and just wreak havoc, and there was nothing that could be done.
Yep.
So what's your solution, Scott?
My solution, so when I went to Israel back in 00,
So
in
go
aught,
deport them to Israel?
no, but, they basically told us, don't smoke weed, don't do nothing. Good God. And we're like, why? What did they, of course, no one did, right? Even though one Israeli guy tried to get us to. They were like, look, if you do it, you'll get exiled and you'll never be allowed back here again. And you'll be exiled immediately.
So where do we exile American citizens to, let alone all of the constitutional ramifications of this?
It doesn't matter. We just exile them. You don't have to exile them to anywhere.
What do you mean? So where do you send them?
Into the ocean. It's like you,
Scott, you might as well just hang him. It's the same thing.
Well, no, it's the same as like when you're at a bar late at night. It's like you don't got to go home, but you can't stay here.
So, Scott, your example of homeless bum, he can't afford to go anywhere.
That's why exiling is the best, because he can't afford to come back.
So where do you take him? I mean, how many, there were a lot of places in Detroit, in the Detroit suburbs, where there'd be homeless people who'd, get themselves out to the fancy suburbs. And if basically what the police would do is pick them up, drive them to downtown Detroit, and just leave them there.
That's not far enough. But you know what? Actually, that's not a bad idea, come to think of it. There's no one nice left in Detroit. Let's just send everyone to Detroit.
No, I have this crazy plan.
From the other cities.
I think what we should do, I want to do a show on this, because I want to present my full idea.
Take all the homeless bums to Detroit.
No. It's actually I think it's a good idea. I want to present this idea to you and to the listeners, and I want people to argue against this idea, because I think it's something we could debate. Imagine if the federal government took over the city of Detroit, kind of like RoboCop style, like Detroit is done.
Well, you need a RoboCop, first of all.
Well, Spitzer, let's send him.
I'd nominate myself.
You want to be RoboCop?
Hells yeah. I got a gun in my leg.
It's pretty easy. Step 1, run afoul of 40 guys with guns. Step 2, get shot for 10 minutes straight. Step 3, RoboCop.
See, I don't think the step 3 exists yet. Otherwise, I would do the step 1 and 2. And I need a guarantee of the step 3.
Little known fact, that was the first rated X movie.
I don't think it was rated X.
It was originally. They had to tone it down. That shooting scene in the beginning was too hardcore for...
RoboCop was hardcore. I mean, that gun just blew people's brains out. Anyway.
But the thing is, I watched that scene again.
It's like Hokuto no gun.
I watched that scene again recently on YouTube. It's pretty tame by nowadays standards.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, you've seen Ichi the Killer. I mean, come on.
The thing is, it's not that far off from Ichi the Killer.
I know, right?
Jesus. Anyway. But say we took Detroit and it became a federal city. It is no longer under the jurisdiction of the state of Michigan. It is a separate...
I don't think that's going to work constitutionally.
Why not?
You can't do that.
You convince Michigan to cede the land to the federal government.
I don't know if that's going to work.
Why, that would work. You'd have to bribe the state. Just remember, back in the day, Michigan kind of went to war with Ohio, and the feds were like, you get this land, Ohio gets this land.
Yeah, but I mean, that would be like if they just... I don't think that can happen. But anyway.
Basically, I think we could do it. One, we could do some sort of martial law thing to do it.
I don't think they can do that
Or
either.
some sort of eminent domain to do it. Or you just convince the state of Michigan to sell it to the federal government, because the state of Michigan has no money. They need money desperately. And much of the rest of Michigan does not like Detroit. So it would be win-win for everyone. We make it a communist city.
A communist city?
The feds take it over, and you put out the call. Anyone in America, no matter what, if you move to Detroit, we will give you a place to live and a living wage and
who's
a job.
going to pay for that?
Taxpayers.
We already don't have any money as it is.
We have plenty of taxpayer money.
Uh-huh.
We replace not most social programs, but any social programs we can with the federal city.
Oh, so you saying we should cancel other federal
We
jobs?
say no matter how bad your lot is.
So you're saying like no more food stamps. If you don't even have enough money for food, go to Detroit, and then you can have food.
there should still be food stamps. There should be a level between I need some help to get back on my feet and I have to go to Detroit.
Oh, I mean, no more welfare. The welfare is now go to Detroit.
But more like welfare helps you out in that, like, welfare is the, all right, I live somewhere. I need a little help to get back on my feet. If after an amount of time you still have not gotten back on your feet, all right, no more welfare. You've got to go to Detroit, and then we guarantee you a job.
Detroit would just become like even like the worst place in the universe.
Maybe not.
Well, so what are we gonna have those people do?
Public infrastructure works to start, and then from there they live in Detroit, and we ship them off with the survey crew.
Right,
or
but
something.
public infrastructure is not an export, so basically it's a whole bunch of money, and then you have a huge debt.
So then, data entry for the government, recodifying the. This is one of those grand plans. Stage 1 is set this up. Stage 2 is use this massive pool of cheap labor to do the data entry and the license plate making for my massive rewriting and codification of U.S. law.
I'm sure.
Yes.
The thing is that requires smart people.
Or well-directed people. Also, people move there with their families, and then you ship the people who are working.
Who's gonna go become like? Thing is, you need also smart jobs there too to run things. Who's smart is gonna want to go live there.
So here's what'll happen, right? Say you've got this big city in Detroit, and you've got people with guaranteed income, guaranteed jobs.
Oh, so it's really communism? Those people, why would they even work? I would just sit home and to get the guaranteed income.
You have to work, you don't get the income.
Oh.
You have to have a job.
But I'll just do a bad job.
Well, maybe then you make less income. Maybe communism, you could still reward people a little bit more. Maybe a pseudo.
Remember, these people, the reason that, at least some of them, the reason that they're poor is because they're just not good at things.
And the people who are good go there, get a job, and also you offer free education and training in any, like...
Who's going to be the educators?
Well, here's the thing. At first, we offer large subsidies to convince people to move there.
This sounds like you're just a big money hole.
No, because here's the thing. You realize surrounding Detroit are some of the richest and most prosperous suburbs in the country.
Aren't they empty now?
No, the suburbs are crazy full.
Where do those people work?
In Detroit. They just don't live in Detroit.
Isn't Detroit crumbling?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
But there are still offices down there and public infrastructure and things. And also, more and more, there are businesses around the suburbs.
All right.
But yeah, those are some crazily economically prosperous places around there. Mm-hmm. But you basically, no one from there would want to live in Detroit, but they would live next to it and sell services to it. And you'd basically be pumping money through Detroit and then back into the economy. Because think about it.
Right, but then you had to get money back the other direction.
From a really, yeah, because then it goes back into the economy and people pay taxes on it.
No,
And think about it this way. Here's a really cynical thing I'm about to say. The kinds of people who are going to end up in Detroit are not the kinds of people who are going to save that money. But anyway, I actually have a much more detailed and less crazy plan.
I think a much less crazy plan would be this. If you were to legalize drugs, then you could just say, yes, drugs are legal, but all drug factories must be in Detroit.
Detroit's the special economic zone for hemp production.
So they grow all the weed wherever. They can grow it anywhere. Growing's, fine. Let them grow wherever they want. But all the packaging and manual labor must be in Detroit, and Detroit will become like the weed capital.
Detroit Weed City.
Yep. And then that's actually, much better than manual labor of, law writing, We could just have people sticking weed in boxes, and then those same people would buy and smoke the weed that they package, and they would be fine.
That raises ethical questions of getting people addicted to a drug and then making them work to create that drug at a profit for you, and then they spend all the money you pay them on the drug.
If the person's just going to be a homeless bum forever, I think that's better to just live in Weed City.
Anyway.
And package weed.
Anyway.
So, and they'll probably know a lot about it.
Moral the third
More
of
than
all
they know
this,
about computers.
aside from, not entangling your affairs with people like this, steal bikes. It's trivial to steal bikes. No one will stop you.
Yeah, why should I even buy a bike in the spring? I'm just going to find a really nice one and steal it.
Thing is, you got to steal it from Cold Spring.
That's true. I can't steal one from the city. I'll have to go off into the middle of nowhere and steal one.
Well, the city, there's so many identical bikes.
Well, the thing is, you might get caught there. There's a lot more eyeballs. I gotta find.
No. Emily was telling me that an experiment, dude would chain a bike up in populated, crowded parts of the city, like Astor Place, and then come back a few days later and hacksaw the thing off and just take it. No one cared. No one even looked at him.
The thing you got to worry about though is I'm gonna be looking. If I'm gonna steal a bike, I'm going to steal a nice bike. I'm not going to bother going through the effort of stealing for some cheapo crap bike. I'm going to go for like the fancy bike. So if I'm going to do that, the guy who rides it might come back. So I got to do it, one where I know the guy isn't coming in the time it takes me to hacksaw.
Furthermore, if you're going to chain up a bike that you stole, at least to have it not all rely on one link.
Dude, could we maybe like make like a bike chain that actually fucking works and can't be hacksawed?
Anything can be hacksawed.
No. I mean, like, what if you made it out of the same stuff you make a hacksaw out of? Can you hacksaw?
Yes, you can hacksaw.
What if we made it?
If you, Scott, want, I will hacksaw through a hacksaw blade if you want.
Why don't we make an electrified bike chain, so if you try to hacksaw it, it shocks you.
Just have a taser bike?
Exactly. It, like, right in the middle of the chain is an electric wire and is a battery. And if you hacksaw through when you get to the middle, it'll just freaking knock you out.
So I cut the battery off first.
The battery's in the chain.
So then I wear gloves. Yeah.
An exploding bike chain. If you cut through it, there's actually
Why not just an exploding bike? If you try to steal the bike, it blows up.
How about we put a GPS in the frame?
You gonna spend that much money on a bike?
If it's a fancy bike. It'll be worth it if you buy like $1,000 bike.
$1,000 is not a fancy bike.
It would be worth it if I had $1,000 bike, even though it's not that fancy.
Scott, that bike is $1,000 bike.
It'll be worth it to have a GPS in there.
Scott, you should come to the bike store if you want to buy a new bike.
They have those $2,000. I've seen them.
Scott, no, I test rode an $18,000 bike.
What the hell could it possibly be? Made of gold penises? I don't know.
It was made of titanium. It weighed nothing. I could pick this whole bike up with like one finger upside down.
Uh-huh.
It was a full-on mountain
Even with
bike.
the tires?
Yeah, with a full suspension.
Mm-hmm.
This was the bike like ride down a ski slope mountain like rocky craziness.
You see, a lot of the bikes have gimmicks that are just like for yuppies and aren't really helpful.
No, this was a real mountain bike. Like it had this system where, because you have this problem of loss when you ride a bike with a full suspension, where the suspension moves and it takes energy away from your riding. That's why I like to ride a hardtail bike. There's no rear suspension, so I have more power to put into my riding.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the feel of it and all that. It kind of bounces. So if you have a really fancy bike, you can have these incredibly complex systems that will only allow the suspension to engage when there is movement from the bottom and force from the bottom, but not from the top.
That's real fancy.
Yes, and it's like this crazy pneumatic system, and that system was like $5,000 by itself.
Whoa. Oh,
it worked,
pneumatic. Whoa, like a pneumatic. Oh, geez.
It worked though. I rode the
guess.
bike. I like rode over like these crazy rocks and didn't even feel them. Like it was an amazing bike.
Man, that probably be not worth it. It's $18,000. Obviously, not going to buy it. But just imagine like riding around the city, and it's like you're riding a bike, but it's smooth, like riding in like a Lincoln Town car or a Cadillac.
All right. Anyway, we've gone on way too long here.
We needed it to go long. We haven't done an episode in forever.
So let's end this now.
Since 2000 forever.
So with the moral of this, don't leave your bike unlocked because a habitual thief opportunity
don't
will
steal
it.
bikes. Don't get your bike stolen. Don't actually shoot homeless people.
Yes. Don't entangle your affairs with people who are poor and indigent.
Yep.
Stupid and indigent.
Yep.
Not poor and indigent because they're cool people who are poor and indigent.
That's
no,
right.
Stupid and indigent. Do not entangle your affairs.
Right.
And if you confront someone who stole your bike, bluff that you called the police if you have not already called the police, but be ready for dick punching.
That's right.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.